Hello students, welcome once again. In previous class we discussed about the mechanism of SN1 and SN2, and there I told you that in SN2 mechanism we observe inversion of configuration, and in SN1 mechanism we observe 50% inversion and 50% retention of configuration, and overall a racemic mixture is formed as the product in SN1 mechanism. Now what all this means, that means what is inversion, retention, racemization, etc., we will discuss in today's class. So today's class is mainly focused on the stereochemical aspects of nucleophilic substitution reactions, which means SN1 and SN2 mechanism we will consider. Along with this, we will also discuss the elimination reactions shown by the haloalkanes and also the reaction of haloalkanes with metals. In reaction with metals, we will discuss reaction with Grignard reagent and a name reaction called Wood's reaction, which we also studied in class 11. Okay, so now let's begin with the stereochemical aspect of SN1 and SN2 mechanism. Now, as I already told you that in SN2 mechanism we observe the inversion of configuration, whereas in SN1 reaction we observe racemization, or we may also say that in SN1 reaction we observe 50% product with inversion of configuration and 50% product with retention of configuration. Okay, and due to this equal amount of inverted and retented product, we get a mixture called racemic mixture. Okay, so this is a very important statement. In SN2 we observe inversion of configuration, and in SN1 we observe 50% inversion and 50% retention, which is also known as racemization. Okay, so before starting the stereochemical aspect, we must be familiar about some terms like optical activity, chirality, what is retention, inversion, racemization, etc. Okay, so to understand the concept of stereochemistry, we must know these topics. Although in 12th class stereochemistry is not in detail, like stereochemistry is a separate branch of chemistry in its own, but here we will just focus on what is inversion, what is retention, and what is racemization. That's it. Okay, so first of all let me tell you what is optical activity. Okay, so suppose we have a plane polarized light. What is plane polarized light? Whenever you pass the white light from a Nicol prism, these lights are separated into 7 colors depending on their frequencies or wavelengths. Now each light is a plane polarized light in which there is a single wavelength is present. Okay, so what is plane polarized light? A light containing single wavelength, and also its plane of propagation should be just one. For example, the wave of light can oscillate like this, can oscillate like this, or at any plane. So if we see the transverse section of this light, we observe the wave of light in each direction. So if this light contains only one color, single color, that means it contains the single wavelength. So now it is polarized light, but it is not plane polarized light. So to make it plane light, we pass it through a slit. Now what happens? After passing it through the slit, only one single plane of oscillation is transmitted. Now this light is called plane polarized light. Okay, so first of all I made it clear that what is plane polarized light. Polarized light means the light containing single wavelength, and plane polarized light means there is only single plane of oscillation. Okay, now see, whenever we pass this plane polarized light through solution of any organic compound, what may happen? It may happen that the plane polarized light just remains on its path. If this kind of observation we observe, that the plane polarized light is propagating on the same path, then there is no optical activity. There is nothing like optical activity for this compound. Okay, now see, if we pass the plane polarized light through a organic solution, and if the light changes its path of propagation by any degree theta, then we can say that this compound is optically active. Okay, so what is the requirement, or what is optical activity? If a compound can rotate the plane of PPL, then it is optically active compound. Now what may happen? This PPL can bend in the right direction, also it may bend in the left direction. So if the compound is responsible for movement of PPL in right direction, it is called dextro-rotatory compounds. Dextro-rotatory. Dextro means right, and if it rotates the PPL in the left direction, it is called levorotatory. Okay, so dextro-rotatory and levorotatory, that is the behavior of that compound, whether it rotates the PPL into right direction or the left direction. Now there is some angle of rotation, theta, so this angle will be called angle of rotation. Okay, so I think you are now clear about what is optical activity. So the property of some compound to rotate the plane polarized light by some angle when PPL is passed through them is called their character of optical activity. Now just like we discussed the isomers, like molecular formula same and different kind of properties different. So if the molecular formula is same for any two compounds and their optical behavior is different, then those are called optical isomers, right? Okay, so this is optical activity. Now what is the responsible factor for a compound to be optically active? मतलब कि ऐसी क्या प्रॉपर्टी किसी कंपाउंड में होनी चाहिए कि वो ऑप्टिकली एक्टिविटी को शो करेगा? तो देखिए, द इम्पॉर्टेंट कंडीशन फॉर एनी कंपाउंड टू बी ऑप्टिकली एक्टिव इज chirality. Now what is chirality? Chirality means asymmetry. Means if any compound is asymmetric, then 100% that compound will be optically active. Now what is the meaning of chiral or asymmetric? It means if there is no element of symmetry present in any compound, then it is asymmetric. What is element of symmetry? Suppose I draw a circle. Okay, let's check element of symmetry in this circle. Can we dissect in two equal parts or two equal halves? Yes, we can. We can dissect it like this, like this, like this, or there are so many planes we can apply on this circle. That means this circle is symmetric. Okay, because a lot of plane of symmetry is present in this circle. Now suppose we have a square. Now in this also, this is one plane, this is another plane, this is another plane, and many plane of symmetry are present in this square also. Now see, the word chiral is originated from a Greek word kier, and kier means hand simply. Suppose this is the diagram of hand. Okay, so can you apply any plane which can dissect this hand into two similar parts? Let's try. If we dissect from here or we apply plane from here, we can see that both these half parts are not similar. If we dissect it from here, then also we don't get any similarity. If we assume a center, then also we see that while moving opposite direction to the center, we see different environments. That means there is no center of symmetry also. Okay, so it means that this hand is asymmetric or chiral, right? For example, the alphabet of English P, can you dissect it into two same parts? I think we cannot. So we can say that this one is also asymmetric. So if a molecule is asymmetric, then that molecule will be optically active. Now suppose if this is the D form, means dextrorotatory form, which is also represented by plus, then we will get a mirror image of this. So the mirror image of this hand will be formed like this. So its mirror image will be levorotatory or L form. Actually it is represented by small d and small l, or plus or minus. These are the representation for dextro and levo forms. Now see, we can also not superimpose this form on this one, means these mirror images cannot be superimposed on each other. That means if we overlap both these structures, we will see that they will not overlap each other. We will get like this. So if this kind of property is present in any compound, then both these isomers are called optical isomers, or there is another term for them, enantiomers. So what is enantiomers? The two optically active compounds which are mirror image of each other but cannot be superimposed on each other. Okay, so let's conclude. What is the condition for compound to be optically active? It is chirality. In next slides we will discuss this chirality in detail. Now see, chiral compounds does not possess any element of symmetry. Element of symmetry means plane of symmetry, center of symmetry, axis of symmetry, etc. Basically we will just check the plane of symmetry. If it is absent, then we can say that this compound is asymmetric. Okay, because at the level of +2, if we can apply a plane of symmetry, that's enough. Then the mirror image of these compound is not superimposable to them, just like I told you by taking the example of hand, and these are called mirror image isomers or enantiomers. Okay, now see, if any carbon atom attached with 4 different type of groups A, B, C and D, this carbon atom will be called chiral carbon because this carbon is asymmetric. That means these kind of compounds will be optically active and they will form a mirror image which will not be superimposable. That means one form will be D and another form will be L, dextro and levorotatory. Okay, so just remember that chiral carbon is different thing and chirality is different thing. Chirality is considered for a molecule as a whole and chiral carbon is specifically for this particular carbon atom in which all the 4 groups are different to each other. If any 2 groups are similar, then this carbon atom will not be chiral. Suppose A, D and C, these groups are attached. Now this is achiral or optically inactive. Clear? Okay, now see, as I already told you that the carbon atom whose all 4 valencies are satisfied with different groups is called chiral carbon, and this kind of compounds will be optically active and will form mirror image enantiomers. Now see, suppose I take an example of this compound. We know that this carbon is chiral. There will be a mirror image of this. And we cannot superimpose this one into this one. If you will overlap, then we will see that the groups will not overlap each other. Now one will be D form and another will be L form. Okay, but suppose if a molecule has more than 1 chiral carbons, then it does not mean that that compound as a whole will be optically active. That is not necessary. Okay, so suppose we have a compound like this. Now if we consider on this carbon, we see that all the 4 groups are different, which means this carbon is chiral carbon, and similarly the carbon present below is also chiral. So there are 2 chiral carbons present, but there is a plane of symmetry present in this molecule. We can apply this plane and dissect this molecule into 2 similar halves. That means this molecule is achiral or symmetric and it will not show optical activity. So whenever you check optical activity in a compound, then you must apply the plane of symmetry. Okay, now see, here is a question. You have to tell that which one is optically active and which one is not. So just remember that if there is just 1 chiral carbon present, just 1 chiral carbon in a compound, then that will be always optical active. You do not need to apply any plane or any symmetry, element of symmetry. You just can blindly say that if there is just one chiral carbon, that compound will be always and always optically active. But in case if there is more than one chiral carbon, it may or may not be optically active. In that case, we have to check the element of symmetry. Like we have discussed in the previous example, there was two chiral carbons, but also plane was there, so that compound as a whole was optically inactive. Okay, so let's focus on these questions. Okay, in first one, just see if the carbon is chiral, yes or no. Yes, it is chiral because all the four groups are different, so it is chiral and optically active. Okay, now see this second one. There are two groups which is similar, and if this kind of structure is there, that means this is not chiral, this is achiral. Now see here, this carbon, all the four groups are different, that means this one is also chiral or optically active. Okay, now see this one, OH, H, and both these two groups are same, that means this one is also not chiral or optically inactive, right? Okay, now you tell me, what about this one? Is there any chiral carbon? Yes, here it is. One group is methyl, one is bromine, one is ethyl, and another last one is hydrogen. So this is chiral or optically active. What about this one? You figure it out and tell me the answer. Okay, whether it is chiral or achiral, optically active or inactive, you have to figure it out. Okay, now see, we will discuss what is inversion, retention and racemization. Just see, suppose we have haloalkane, this one, chlorine, and there are three other groups like methane, ethane and hydrogen, suppose. Now we know that this carbon is chiral, that means it is optically active. Now suppose after the reaction, suppose we have nucleophile OH negative. Suppose after the reaction we get a product like this. Now here you can see that the OH is attached from the reverse side of chlorine. Okay, that means it is SN2 mechanism. SN2 mechanism. So this kind of product is called inverted product, and this phenomena is called inversion of configuration. So like we already discussed that in SN2 mechanism always inversion of configuration will be observed, right? So this is inversion of configuration. Now see, if it is SN1 mechanism, suppose we have the same substrate. Okay, so what happens in SN1 mechanism? First of all, the leaving group leaves the compound and carbocation forms. Now this carbocation is planar or triangular planar. Okay, so in planar carbocation the nucleophile can attack from either sides. It may attack from this side or this side, and the probability of attacking from either side is equal. So if it attacks from left side, we will get a product like this. And if it attacks from the right side, we get a product like this. Now see, one product is formed where the OH is present from the reverse side of leaving group, and one product is formed where the OH is present in the same side of the leaving group. So this is called inversion, like we have studied in SN2, and this one is called retention. And because here 50% inverted product and 50% retention product is formed, so this mixture is called racemic mixture. Racemic mixture. What is the meaning of racemic mixture? If D and L forms are present in equal amount, then the overall compound or the mixture becomes optically inactive. मान लीजिए डेक्स्ट्रो रोटेटरी कंपाउंड है जो PPL को दाईं तरफ रोटेट करता है और लीवो रोटेटरी लेफ्ट साइड में रोटेट करता है. अगर दोनों का इक्वल अमाउंट हम मिक्स कर देंगे किसी मिक्सचर में, तो दोनों एक दूसरे के इफेक्ट को कैंसिल आउट कर देंगे. यानी कि अब उस मिक्सचर में से जो लाइट है वो किसी भी डायरेक्शन में रोटेट नहीं होगी. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड रेसिमिक मिक्सचर. द इक्विमोलर मिक्सचर ऑफ डेक्स्ट्रो एंड लीवो रोटेटरी कंपाउंड्स is called racemic mixture. So in SN1, 50% inverted product is forming and 50% retention product is forming, so their mixture is overall optically inactive or racemic. So I think you are clear about inversion, retention and racemization. Inversion takes place in SN2, retention 50% takes place in SN1 and 50% inversion, and the mixture of inverted and retention product is called racemic mixture, or this process is called racemization. Is it clear to all of you? Okay. Now see, we will discuss the elimination reactions. Now, what happens in elimination reaction? Any base, generally this is bulky base, the base in which there is larger alkyl groups are present. For example, tertiary butoxide. Okay, so also alcoholic KOH is responsible for elimination reactions. So you have to check whether it is KOH given in the reaction or alcoholic KOH is given. If it is KOH, then it will show SN reaction, nucleophilic substitution. But it is alcoholic KOH, it will show elimination reaction. Okay, so you have to check during solving the question. Okay, now see what base will do. Base will attack on the beta hydrogen, and this beta hydrogen will be removed from here. Then the electron of bond will form a pi bond between alpha and beta carbon, and the halogen present at the alpha carbon will be removed. So what will happen here? A pi bond will be formed, the hydrogen is removed or by base, and the halogen is also removed. Okay, so this is called beta elimination. And alcoholic solution of potassium hydroxide, alcoholic KOH, this one you have to remember that this one will be responsible for elimination. Okay, now see that this is alpha carbon, this one is beta carbon, and this one is also beta carbon. Now if this one hydrogen gets eliminated, we get double bond at the terminal, or if this hydrogen is eliminated, we get the double bond here. Okay, so now in these two products, the more substituted alkene will be more stable, which means the double bond should have more numbers of the alpha hydrogens. Like here we have 3 plus 2, 5 alpha hydrogens, and here we just have 2 alpha hydrogens. So the product containing 5 alpha hydrogen will be formed in major extent. Now you can see it is 81% and this one is 19%. So this is called Set-Zepf rule. Okay, so here the more substituted alkenes is formed in the major extent. This is called Set-Zepf product or Set-Zepf rule. It is similar to Markovnikov, anti-Markovnikov. If more substitutase is formed in major amount, it is called Set-Zepf product, and if less substitutase is formed in major amount, it is called Hofmann product. So the condition of Hofmann product is not in our syllabus. Okay, so this is an important term, Set-Zepf rule. Now see, we know that bases can also act as nucleophile, which means they may show SN reactions, and it also may show elimination reaction. Now there is always a competition between SN1, SN2. Similarly, there is always a competition between SN reactions and elimination reactions, basically if bases are taken. So if the base is bulky, means the base containing the larger alkyl groups, if this kind of base is present, then it cannot attack easily on the alkyl halide. In this case, they will generally show elimination reactions. So here in this diagram you can see this base is bulky, here 3 methyl groups are there, so it is showing elimination reaction rather than SN reaction. And here in second picture you can see this one is smaller base, lighter base, so it can easily attack on the carbon atom and remove the bromine, so it is showing substitution reaction. Now there is no clear remarcation that in what case elimination will takes place or in what case substitution will takes place, but you also you must keep on in your mind that there is always a competition between substitution and elimination reactions. The larger bases will go for the elimination and the smaller bases will go for the substitution. Okay, now the last reaction is reaction with metals. The first one is Wood's reaction. We all know that in Wood's reaction we react the alkyl halide with sodium metal in presence of dry ether, and what happens here, we get the sodium halide and this alkyl halide gets dimerized. We get the dimerized alkane. We studied this reaction in class 11 during formation of alkanes. Okay, so this is Wood's reaction. Now what happens if we take methyl chloride and ethyl chloride, sodium and dry ether, which alkane will be formed? CH3C2H5, means propane will be formed. Okay, so it is a dimerization reaction. And next is the reaction with RMgX. Now see, RMgX is called Grignard reagent. And in this reagent the Mg has positive charge and R has negative charge, so it behaves somewhere like the base. It behaves like the base. Now see, suppose this haloalkane we have, so this R negative will attack on the carbon containing the halo group, and this will be removed from here. So SN reaction is taking place here, and we will get higher alkanes with MgXCl. Okay, suppose we have CH3Br plus C2H5 MgCl. What will happen? This C2H5 negative will attack, Br will be removed, we will get CH3C2H5, means propane, plus MgCl2 or MgClBr. So these reactions will be used whenever we will go for organic synthesis. We will discuss the questions later after the completion of chapter. So that's all for today's class. I think all the topics are very clear to all of you. If any doubt, you can ask me anytime. It is very important to absorb all these concepts, so keep revising organic chemistry again and again. In tomorrow's class, we will discuss the chemical properties of haloarenes. In chemical properties of haloalkanes, the stereochemical aspect was the highlight, and in haloarenes, their directing influence will be the highlight of the chemical properties. So that's all for today's class. Thank you very much for being attentive.